There's a difference between loneliness and aloneness. One destroys you, the other rebuilds you. And most people spend their entire lives confusing the two. They fear the very thing that could set them free. They run from the only place where real healing happens. Inside the silence of their own company. You need to hear this today. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Right now, because every day you postpone this conversation with yourself is another day you lose a piece of who you really are. Another day you hand over your power to external circumstances. Another day you let the noise drown out your truth. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you sat alone without reaching for your phone? Without turning on the television? Without calling someone just to fill the silence? When was the last time you actually allowed yourself to be present with your own thoughts, your own feelings, your own existence? If you're struggling to remember, you're not alone in that struggle. But that struggle itself is the problem. We live in a world that has weaponized your fear of being alone. Every advertisement, every social media platform, every cultural message tells you the same lie. That you need more. More friends. More connections. More activities. More noise. More distraction. And beneath all that noise is a quiet desperation. A soul that's starving for something it can't name. That something is solitude. Real solitude. The kind that makes you uncomfortable before it makes you whole. You see, your soul speaks in whispers. It doesn't shout over the chaos of your daily life. It doesn't compete with the opinions of others. It doesn't force itself into your awareness when you're constantly surrounded by people and stimulation. Your soul waits. It waits for the moment when you finally stop running, when you finally sit still, when you finally give it permission to show you who you really are beneath all the masks you wear. But here's what happens instead. You wake up and immediately check your phone. 30 notifications, 15 messages, 20 updates from people you barely know. You scroll through lives that aren't yours. You compare your inside to everyone else's outside. You consume content created by strangers who don't know your name. And before you've even gotten out of bed, you've already abandoned yourself. You've already chosen the external world over your internal one. This pattern continues throughout your day. You rush to work or to your responsibilities. You surround yourself with colleagues, friends, family. You fill every gap in your schedule. You say yes when you want to say no. You attend gatherings that drain you. You maintain relationships that no longer serve you. And you do all of this because somewhere along the way, you learned that being alone means something is wrong with you. Let me tell you what's really wrong. What's wrong is that you've forgotten how to be your own companion. You've forgotten that the relationship you have with yourself is the foundation for every other relationship in your life. You've forgotten that solitude isn't isolation, it's liberation. Think about this for a moment. Every person who has ever created something meaningful, who has ever experienced a genuine breakthrough, who has ever discovered their true purpose, did so in moments of aloneness. Not loneliness, aloneness. The great thinkers, the artists, the mystics, the healers, they all understood something you've forgotten. That the answers you're searching for outside yourself have been inside you all along. But you'll never hear them in a crowded room. You carry wounds, we all do. Childhood hurts, broken relationships, betrayals, losses, disappointments, failures. And what do most people do with these wounds? They cover them up. They distract themselves. They stay so busy that they never have to feel the pain. They surround themselves with people and noise and activity, believing that if they just keep moving, the wounds will heal themselves. But wounds don't heal in chaos. They heal in stillness. When you're alone, truly alone, something remarkable happens. The wounds you've been running from finally catch up with you. And yes, it hurts. It hurts to feel what you've been avoiding. It hurts to sit with your grief, your shame, your anger, your fear. But here's the truth that will change your life. That hurt is the healing. The pain you feel in solitude isn't a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something is finally becoming right. Your emotions are messengers. Each one carries information you need. But you've been treating them like enemies. You've been medicating them with busyness, with relationships, with substances, with entertainment, with work. You've been doing anything and everything to avoid feeling what needs to be felt. And in the process, you've disconnected from the very wisdom that could transform your life. Sit alone long enough, and you'll discover something terrifying. You'll discover who you've become, not who you pretend to be in public, not the version of yourself you present on social media, not the role you play at work or in your family. You'll meet the real you, the one beneath all the conditioning, beneath all the expectations, beneath all the fear. And that meeting might be the most important appointment of your life. But most people cancel that appointment every single day. They fill their calendar with obligations that don't matter. They say yes to invitations they don't want. They maintain friendships that feel hollow. They stay in relationships that have died. All because the alternative, sitting alone with themselves, feels unbearable. And it does feel unbearable. At first. Because you're not used to it. Because you've trained yourself to need external validation. Because you've built your entire identity on what others think of you. Here's what you need to understand. Every time you avoid being alone, you're sending yourself a message. You're saying you're not worth your own time. You're saying your thoughts don't matter. You're saying your feelings are too dangerous to feel. You're saying you need others to complete you. And that message, repeated day after day, year after year, becomes your reality. You become a person who can't exist without external validation, without constant stimulation, without someone else telling you who you are. And then life does what life does. People leave. Relationships end. Jobs change. Children grow up. Friends move away. And suddenly, you're forced into the aloneness you've been avoiding. But now it feels like punishment. Now it feels like abandonment. Now it feels like proof that something is fundamentally wrong with you. When the truth is, this aloneness is a gift. It's life giving you another chance, another opportunity to come home to yourself. Let me tell you what happens when you stop running. When you finally sit in that silence you've been avoiding. At first, your mind races. It throws every thought at you. Every worry, every regret, every fear. It's been waiting for this moment to speak. It has years of accumulated noise that needs to be released. Let it. Don't fight it. Don't judge it. Just observe. Watch your thoughts like clouds passing through the sky. They come. They go. You remain. Beneath the mental noise, there's something else. Emotions. Waves of feeling that you've been suppressing. Maybe it's sadness. Maybe it's anger. Maybe it's grief for the life you thought you'd have by now. Maybe it's fear about the future. Maybe it's shame about the past. Whatever it is, it needs to move through you. Emotions are meant to be felt, not stored. When you finally allow yourself to feel them in solitude, without distraction, without numbing, something shifts. The emotion moves. It changes. It transforms. And you transform with it. This is the healing that only aloneness can bring. Because you're not performing for anyone. You're not managing how others perceive you. You're not strong when you want to cry. You're not happy when you're sad. You're not composed when you're falling apart. You're finally, beautifully, courageously real. And that realness is what your soul has been craving all along. But here's where it gets interesting. As you continue to spend time alone, as you make it a practice rather than something you avoid, you start to notice patterns. You start to see your behaviors more clearly. You start to understand why you react the way you do, why you choose the same type of partner, why you repeat the same mistakes, why you sabotage yourself, why you stay small, why you say yes when you mean no, why you abandon yourself to please others. These patterns have been running your life, but you couldn't see them clearly because you were too distracted, too busy, too surrounded by other people's energy and opinions and needs. Solitude gives you the space to observe yourself with clarity, to see the programming, to recognize the conditioning, to identify the wounds that are still driving your behavior. And once you see these patterns, you can't unsee them. Once you recognize them, you have a choice. You can continue to operate from them unconsciously, or you can choose something different. Think about how you've been living until now. You react to life, Someone says something and you immediately respond. Someone treats you poorly and you immediately defend. Something doesn't go your way and you immediately collapse. You're not choosing your responses. Your past is choosing for you. Your wounds are choosing for you. Your fear is choosing for you. And you wonder why you keep ending up in the same situations, why you keep attracting the same types of people, why you keep feeling the same feelings you swore you'd never feel again. You're operating on autopilot. And that autopilot was programmed decades ago, by parents who did their best but had their own wounds, by teachers who meant well but didn't really see you, by experiences that hurt you before you had the tools to process them, by a culture that values productivity over presence, performance over authenticity, achievement over inner peace. None of this is your fault, but all of it is your responsibility now. Because you're an adult, you have agency, you have choice, but you can't choose what you can't see, and you can't see what's driving you when you're constantly in motion, when you're constantly reacting, when you're constantly surrounded by external stimuli that keep you from looking inward. Aloneness stops the momentum. It breaks the cycle. It gives you distance from your automatic reactions. You start to notice things. How your chest tightens when you think about certain people. How your stomach drops when you face certain situations. How your mind creates stories that aren't true. How you project your past onto your present. How you sabotage good things because deep down you don't believe you deserve for them. These insights don't come from books. They don't come from other people telling you about yourself. They come from direct observation, from sitting with yourself long enough to see yourself clearly, from being honest about what you discover even when it's uncomfortable, especially when it's uncomfortable. You'll see how you people please to avoid conflict, how you overwork to avoid feeling, how you overthink to avoid acting, how you withdraw to avoid rejection, how you control to avoid vulnerability, how you perform to avoid being truly seen. Every defense mechanism, every coping strategy, every survival pattern that once protected you but now imprisons you. It all becomes visible in solitude. And here's what most people miss. These patterns aren't just mental. They live in your body. They're stored in your tissues, in your nervous system, in your cellular memory. You can think about them all you want. You can understand them intellectually. But until you feel them, until you allow yourself to experience the sensations associated with them, they won't release. They won't transform. They'll keep running you from beneath your awareness. This is why aloneness is so powerful. It's not just about thinking differently. It's about feeling fully. About letting your body discharge the old energy it's been holding. About allowing emotions to move through you without resistance. About creating space for your nervous system to regulate. To reset. To remember what safety feels like. Not the false safety of distraction, but the real safety of being present with yourself. This is where the real power of aloneness reveals itself. It's not just about healing old wounds. It's about conscious creation. It's about deciding who you want to be, rather than defaulting to who you've always been. It's about choice. Real choice. Not the illusion of choice you have when you're reacting to life from your wounds, but genuine choice that comes from awareness. You start to ask yourself different questions. Not what do others expect of me, but what do I truly want? Not how can I fit in, but who am I when no one is watching? Not what will make others comfortable, but what makes me come alive. These questions can only be answered in solitude, because only in solitude can you hear your own voice clearly enough to know what's true for you. And here's what you'll discover. You'll discover that you've been living someone else's life, following someone else's script, chasing goals that don't matter to you, maintaining relationships that drain you, saying things you don't believe, doing things you don't want to do, all to avoid the discomfort of being alone, all to maintain the approval of people who don't really know you, all to fit into a world that was never designed for who you truly are. The courage it takes to face this truth cannot be overstated, because once you see it, everything changes. You can't go back to pretending. You can't go back to living unconsciously. You can't go back to abandoning yourself for the comfort of others. You have to make a choice. continue living the lie, or start living your truth. And your truth always begins in the silence of your own company. Now let's talk about the dangers of avoiding this, because they are real, they are serious, and they are affecting your life right now, whether you realize it or not. When you constantly avoid being alone, you develop dependencies. You become addicted to external validation. You need others to tell you you're okay. You need constant stimulation to feel alive. You need noise to avoid your thoughts. You need people to distract you from your feelings. These dependencies rob you of your power. They make you controllable. They keep you small. They prevent you from accessing your own wisdom. They trap you in patterns that don't serve you. And over time, they create a life that looks full but feels empty. A life where you're constantly busy but never fulfilled. A life where you're surrounded by people but feel completely alone. The irony is profound. You avoid aloneness because you fear loneliness. But by avoiding aloneness, you create a deeper loneliness than you can imagine. The loneliness of not knowing yourself. The loneliness of living inauthentically. The loneliness of being surrounded by people who don't really see you because you're not showing them who you really are. This kind of loneliness leads to desperation. You'll stay in relationships that hurt you because being alone feels worse. You'll maintain friendships that drain you because having no friends feels unacceptable. You'll say yes to everything because saying no might mean spending time by yourself. You'll scroll social media for hours because sitting with your thoughts feels unbearable. You'll work yourself to exhaustion because stopping means facing yourself. And the cost keeps adding up. Your health deteriorates because you're constantly stressed. Your relationships suffer because you're not truly present. Your work suffers because you're operating from depletion. Your dreams die because you never give yourself space to imagine something different. Your soul withers because you're feeding it nothing but noise and distraction and other people's energy. You also lose the ability to think critically. When you're constantly consuming other people's thoughts, other people's opinions, other people's perspectives, you stop generating your own. You become an echo chamber. You repeat what you've heard without questioning if it's true for you. You adopt beliefs that aren't yours. You chase goals that don't matter to you. You build a life that looks impressive but feels meaningless. The warning signs are everywhere. You feel anxious when your phone dies. You panic when you have an evening with no plans. You make up reasons to text people just to avoid silence. You turn on the TV as background noise. You scroll mindlessly. You say yes to social obligations you don't want. You feel guilty for wanting time alone. You think there's something wrong with you if you prefer solitude. You believe you should be more social, more connected, more available. These signs are telling you something crucial. You've lost your center. You've disconnected from your source. You've abandoned the one relationship that matters most, the relationship with yourself. And until you repair that relationship, every other relationship in your life will be compromised. Because you can't give to others what you don't have yourself. You can't offer authentic connection when you're disconnected from yourself. You can't love others fully when you don't know how to be with yourself. So what's the shift? How do you move from this pattern of avoidance to a practice of intentional aloneness? It starts with a decision, a commitment. You decide that you matter enough to spend time with yourself. You commit to carving out space in your life for solitude, not as punishment, not as something you do when you have nothing else to do, but as a sacred practice, as a non-negotiable part of your life. Start small. Give yourself 15 minutes. Just 15 minutes of silence. No phone, no television, no music, no distractions. Just you and your breath. Just you and your thoughts. Just you and whatever arises. Can you do that? 15 minutes. It sounds simple. But for most people, it's excruciating. The discomfort that comes up in those 15 minutes is the discomfort you've been running from your entire life. Sit with it. Breathe through it. Don't try to fix it or change it or understand it. Just be with it. Let it be there. Let yourself be there. This is the practice. Showing up for yourself. Being present with whatever is. Not judging it. Not needing it to be different. Just allowing it to be. As you do this consistently, something shifts. The discomfort becomes less intense. The silence becomes less threatening. Your thoughts become less chaotic. And beneath it all, you start to hear something. A quieter voice, a deeper knowing, your intuition, your wisdom, your truth. It's been there all along, waiting for you to stop long enough to listen. This voice knows things your thinking mind doesn't. It knows what you really need. It knows what's right for you. It knows when to move forward and when to wait. It knows who to trust and who to avoid. It knows what feeds your soul and what depletes it. But it can only speak when everything else goes quiet. It can only reach you when you're alone. And this is where aloneness becomes not just healing, but transformative. Because when you start living from this deeper wisdom, your entire life changes. You make different choices. You say no to what doesn't serve you. You say yes to what lights you up. You let go of relationships that have run their course. You attract people who see you for who you really are. You create work that matters. You build a life that feels authentic. But let me be clear about something. This transformation doesn't happen overnight. It's not a one-time event. It's a process, a practice, a commitment you make every single day. Some days will feel like breakthroughs. You'll have insights that change everything. You'll feel connected to yourself in ways you never have before. Other days will feel like you're back at square one, like nothing is working, like you're more lost than when you started. Both experiences are part of the journey. The breakthrough days teach you what's possible. The difficult days teach you commitment. They teach you to keep showing up even when it's hard, even when you don't see immediate results, even when your mind tells you this is pointless. Because the mind wants quick fixes. It wants instant transformation. It wants to skip the process and jump to the outcome. But your soul knows better. Your soul knows that real change happens slowly, gradually, through consistent presence, through showing up day after day, through honoring yourself enough to keep the appointment even when you'd rather cancel. This is the deeper work, not the flashy breakthroughs, but the quiet dedication, the unglamorous commitment, the daily choice to be with yourself. And here's what happens when you make that choice consistently. You build trust with yourself. You prove to yourself that you're worthy of your own time, your own attention, your own care. You demonstrate through action that you matter, that your inner life is important, that knowing yourself is worth the effort. And this self-trust changes everything. You stop seeking validation from others because you're validating yourself. You stop looking for purpose outside yourself because you've discovered the purpose within. You stop waiting for someone to complete you because you've realized you were never incomplete. You were just disconnected. And now you're coming home. This doesn't mean you become a hermit. This doesn't mean you reject all relationships or social connection. It means you engage with the world from a different place, from wholeness rather than neediness, from clarity rather than confusion, from choice rather than compulsion. You enjoy the company of others because you want to, not because you need to. You contribute to relationships from overflow, not from depletion. You show up as yourself, not as who you think you should be. And the people in your life will notice. Some will be uncomfortable with this change. They'll want the old you back. The people pleaser, the yes person, the one who abandoned themselves to keep everyone else comfortable. Let them be uncomfortable. Their discomfort is not your responsibility. Your responsibility is to yourself, to your truth, to your healing, to your growth. Others will be inspired. They'll see the peace in you, the groundedness, the authenticity. They'll ask what changed, and you'll tell them. You learn to be alone. You learn to be with yourself. You learn that solitude isn't lonely. It's holy. It's where you meet the deepest parts of yourself. It's where healing happens. It's where transformation begins. You'll also discover something else, that you have so much more to give when you're not depleted, that you're a better partner, parent, friend, colleague when you're not running on empty, that your presence matters more than your productivity, that being grounded in yourself allows you to hold space for others in ways you never could before. But this all starts with the willingness to sit alone, to face what you've been avoiding, to feel what you've been suppressing, to listen to what you've been drowning out. It starts with the understanding that aloneness isn't your enemy. It's your teacher. It's your healer. It's your path home. So I'm asking you to do something radical. I'm asking you to schedule time alone. Put it in your calendar like you would any important appointment. Protect it. Honor it. Show up for it. Start with 15 minutes a day, then 30, then an hour. Build a practice of solitude. Make it as essential as eating or sleeping, because it is. And watch what happens. Watch how your anxiety decreases. Watch how your clarity increases. Watch how your relationships improve. Watch how your creativity flows. Watch how your decisions become easier. Watch how your life starts to align with who you really are. Watch how you stop living for others and start living for yourself, not in a selfish way, but in a self-full way. In a way that honors your truth, your needs, your soul. This is the healing that aloneness offers. Not a band-aid, not a temporary fix, but a fundamental transformation, a return to yourself, a remembering of who you were before the world told you who to be, before the wounds, before the conditioning, before the fear. You were whole. You still are. You just forgot. And aloneness is how you remember. The soul heals in silence, not in therapy, though therapy helps. Not in relationships, though relationships can support the healing. Not in books or workshops or programs, though these tools have value. The soul heals when you finally stop running, when you finally sit still, when you finally give yourself permission to be alone with who you are. All of who you are. The light and the shadow, the strength and the vulnerability, the wisdom and the confusion, the joy and the pain. All of it is welcome in solitude. All of it has space to be seen, to be felt, to be integrated. And as you integrate these parts of yourself, as you stop rejecting and start accepting, as you stop hiding and start revealing, you become whole. Not perfect, whole. There's a difference. Perfection is impossible. Wholeness is your birthright, but you have to claim it. And you claim it in the quiet moments when it's just you and your soul having an honest conversation. So here's my invitation to you. Stop treating aloneness like something to avoid. Stop filling every moment with noise and distraction. Stop running from the one person you'll be with for your entire life. Yourself? Turn toward yourself instead. With curiosity, with compassion, with courage. Meet yourself in the silence. Listen to what your soul has been trying to tell you. Feel what needs to be felt. Release what needs to be released. Heal what needs to be healed. This is not selfish, this is essential. You cannot give from an empty cup. You cannot love others when you don't know how to be with yourself. You cannot create a meaningful life when you're disconnected from your own meaning. Aloneness is not loneliness. It's the path to ending loneliness. It's the way you learn to be your own best companion, your own safe space, your own source of wisdom and comfort and truth. And when you learn this, when you truly embody this, you become unshakable. Not because nothing bothers you, but because you have a foundation that cannot be destroyed by external circumstances. You have yourself, and that is enough. It always has been. You just needed the silence to hear it, the aloneness to feel it, the courage to believe it. Your soul is calling you home. It's been calling for a long time. And home is not a place. It's not a person. It's not a future version of yourself. Home is here, now, in the quiet space within you, in the stillness beneath the noise, in the aloneness that heals. Will you answer the call? Will you give yourself the gift of your own presence? Will you finally, courageously, beautifully sit alone and let your soul speak? The healing you've been searching for everywhere else is waiting for you there. In the silence, in the solitude, in the sacred space of being alone with yourself. This is where you remember who you are. This is where you discover what you're capable of. This is where you find the peace you've been chasing. Not out there. In here. Not someday. Today. Not when you're ready. Now. The time is now. The place is within. And the practice is simple but profound. Be alone. Be still. Be with yourself. And let your soul heal.